I 28M read my girlfriend's 30F journal and left because of what I found. So we've had a really rough 2 months. I woke up one morning to find that she had written an essay to share with me outlining that she's kicking me out, and she provided reasons for doing so. The main reason was that apparently she decided to go through my phone. She was incredibly upset about what she found, however everything she found was completely taken out of context. For some background, I'm a DJ and I have several bars and restaurants I DJ at. Naturally, people approach me and ask for my social media. Men-women will both ask for my Instagram. Sometimes I will receive a message such as "really enjoyed your set tonight?" and similar. In one instance, I replied to a message from a woman and I said "thank you red heart," and this was the end of our conversation. According to my girlfriend, this was borderlining on cheating behavior. Also on Instagram, I had received a random text from a woman who lives all the way in my home country 6,000 kilometers away. The message was as follows: "Hey, your mum told me to follow you." I thought this was maybe a scam, but I didn't think much of it. I replied, "How did you meet my mum?" and she replied, "I was out for drinks and just happened to start chatting to her." I replied, "Classic mum." And this was the end of our conversation. According to my girlfriend, this was an apparent attempt from my mother to set me up with a new random girl. The argument got so bad that my girlfriend convinced me to call my mother and have her explain why she was getting random girls to follow me on Instagram. My mother explained that she was just bragging that she has a son who is a DJ abroad who makes music. This is a very Irish thing to do. My girlfriend said some horrible things about my mother's character, and I felt horrible having to ask my mother to justify something so innocent. My mother is a typical Irish ma'am, and I know with absolute certainty her intentions were not to set me up with this random girl who lives all the way back home. The extent of our being "how did you meet my mum?" and "classic mum." I don't know how someone can see that and think it's even close to being unfaithful. Another thing she found is messages to my completely platonic female friend regarding a really bad argument my girlfriend and I had. This friend also lives on the other side of the country and she has a committed boyfriend. I was outlining to the reasons why I felt like I was in the right in this argument. Naturally, my girlfriend felt as though she was in the right in regards to this argument. I messaged my friend my perspective, and when my girlfriend went through my phone she found this conversation. She accused me of lying about our relationship to a woman who seems like a pick-me girl. I tried to explain that the root of the argument is that we disagreed about certain things, so for me to offer my perspective to a friend, naturally it's going to be my point of view. I explained that this isn't lying, but it is my side of the story. Then there was insinuations that clearly I'm interested in a relationship with this friend of mine. I responded that she lives on the other side of the country and has a boyfriend. Both of these things my girlfriend already knows. She actually met this friend before, so it's not like I was hiding her existence. I tried to make the point that if you breach my trust and privacy by going through my phone, you're going to find a reason to justify this act. I know where my heart and intentions are, and I never for 1 second would consider being unfaithful. The messages that she cherry-picked as a reason to break up with me are all entirely innocent and explainable, in my opinion. She disagrees. Another thing she claims in the essay is that I don't make enough of an effort in the relationship. I responded, what about the concert I took you to 2 days ago? What about Monday date night where we've consistently gone on dates every week for the summer? Apparently it's because I would sometimes have the audacity to ask that we split a bill. Keep in mind, I generally do pay for things when we go out. I'll pay for Uber Eats for both of us pretty consistently. There's been times I'll pay for a nice dinner and I won't even get a thank you. I thought it was very unfair to claim I'm not making an effort if she's just going to disregard all the things we've been doing together recently. I paid $7,000 to go to school, and yes, this left me a little bit strapped for cash at times, so I would sometimes ask if we can split a bill. Apparently this was very out of line of me. She also works a lot of overtime every week and I work weekends, so it's hard to make the time sometimes. She also decided to pick up 2 freelance jobs on the side, which, yes, good for her, but it just ate into more of our free time together. Yet previously in our relationship she got angry for picking up Monday shifts because that's supposed to be our day. In this instance, she does have a point. Sunday and Monday were her only days off at this point. So I gave up the Monday shifts and this became our date night every week. However, since she picked up the freelance work, she would sometimes be busy on Monday and throughout the week we had even less time to spend together. So she gives me 4 weeks to pack my shit and find a new place to live and I'm sleeping on the couch until then. We're not really speaking at this and I am starting to get very depressed. During this time I decide to concede and even apologize for my behavior. Looking back I wish I didn't back down but I really wanted to make things work so I made a lot of promises to her that I would do better and be the man she wants me to be. At this time she has me convinced that I was in fact a bad person and she was right and I was wrong. But eventually we start to get along again. We actually decided we're going to try make things work on the implication that I make more of an effort and so on. Eventually we are on really good terms again and things are looking good. But then there will be random days where she will give me the cold shoulder and be very distant, out of the blue. This was beginning to happen more and I was starting to get upset again. I start to get paranoid and in an act of frustration, I decide to do to her the same thing she done to me. And went onto her laptop and read her messages. She was in the shower and it was the morning time. I noticed she was running late for work. I read her laptop while she was in the shower. First message I see is to her boss. Sorry I can't come to work today, me and boyfriend got into a screaming match last night. I think I need to get my cousin over to mediate for us. This was a complete lie. There was no screaming match, we weren't even arguing at this point, this is when things were good, or so I thought. It's important to also understand that this girl would scream at me, constantly. At the top of her lungs. I never ever do this. I've never even raised my voice to her. I've told her many times how her shouting affects me and she promises me she was working on it. The message she sent made it look like I'm the one shouting, and the implication that she needs a cousin to come over and mediate suggests that she feels unsafe. It paints me in an extremely bad light and in my opinion is worse than anything she found on my phone. When she gets out of the shower, I ask why she's not going to work. She said, "Oh, I decided I'm just going to apply for jobs today." I replied, "Are you sure it's not because of an imaginary screaming match we got into last night? What time is your cousin coming over?" And then she knew that I read her messages. I didn't go looking for anything else, the message to her boss was all I found. Then I closed the laptop. She was furious and demanded that I leave immediately. I said, "Don't you think it's fair game for me to read your messages if that's exactly what you did to me?" So I leave and stay with a friend for a week. One morning she called me and asked me to come over so we could talk. She was somewhat apologetic and was wondering if we could still try and fix things. I stupidly said yes. By this point I had found a new place to live, and we both agreed that we would live separately but continue the relationship. I honestly thought this was the best case scenario, space would be good for the relationship. But she asked me if I would come to her place twice a day 5 days a week to feed her dog 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. as she would be working overtime and getting home at 8 p.m. I agreed. Things were going pretty smoothly at this point. I'm practically back living with her again at this stage and she would ask me to stay over most nights. Over this 3-week period I stayed over in her place 90% of the time. Our birthdays are very close together, mine is 5 days before hers. She asked what I wanted to do for my birthday and I said dinner and a movie. I offered to get the tickets because of my cinema membership, but she would send me money for them as this was supposed to be her taking me out for my birthday. It was a VIP cinema so tickets were $40, so on the day of my birthday, I don't get any gift from her. She says she orders something and it's on the way. Of course this is fine with me and I'm excited for whatever she got me. We go see the movie and have a good time. We ended up being too late for the restaurant before the film, so we just got food at the theater which she did pay for in fairness. So days go by and she still hasn't sent me money, but I'm not going to dwell on it, I'm sure she will eventually. 5 days later, It's her birthday. I get her a bunch of really nice presents wrapped up for her to open at midnight. She's really happy with what I got for her. Feels good. Weird that my present hasn't arrived yet, but it's all good. She also hasn't sent money for the theater yet. But I'm not going to call her out for that. A few days later she wants to go out on a shopping spree, so I tag along. Sounds like a fun day out. She buys herself some things at various shops just to indulge for her birthday. This is fine by me, of course. However, I still haven't received a present for my birthday, nor have I received money for the theater. She also owed me money for another night out that we had. I found it a little bit frustrating how she'll spend money on herself like that in front of me when she hasn't sent me money. And I still haven't received a present, but it was allegedly on the way. So ultimately, I paid for my own birthday date, which rubs me the wrong way, especially when if I were to do the same thing, I would be a piece of shit in her eyes. Then the weird cold shoulder and silent treatment began again out of nowhere, and I was starting to feel the anxiety again. I start to feel as though she lied about ordering anything for me. I begin to feel like she's taking advantage of me because she needs someone to feed her dog. I decide to read her journal. These are the things she wrote which I found the most upsetting. I want to start doing more for myself. I want to start hanging out in hotel lobbies to work on my business. Maybe I can meet a rich man who will support my business. I need to remember to order his birthday present today, so I'm the asshole for petty innocent messages on Instagram, which is apparently borderline unfaithful, yet she expresses a desire to meet a rich man in a hotel lobby to support her. This entry in her journal is a week after my birthday, so she lied about the fact it was ordered and on the way. When she got home, I told her that we shouldn't be together and I don't want to see her anymore. Her first response was, "Can I still feed her dog?" I said no. Before I left, I said, "I hope you meet the rich man you're looking for." AITA.